Like Terry said, my name's Quandt, and I work for McCrometer. I live right here in Aurora, just across the road. Is that better? Okay. I've worked for McCrometer or Great Plains Meter now for about 19 years here in Aurora. Before that, in sales and marketing. Before that, I was one of these guys. I worked for the NRD out in City, Nebraska. I was their water manager for about 11 years. Most importantly, before that, I was a farm boy from Grand Island. I grew up on a farm about half an hour away from here, setting siphon tubes with my dad when I was a kid, 40-some years ago. But when they asked me to come talk today, I thought I'd put together these slides. This is a kind of a revised version of a presentation I gave a few years back about basically how you as producers can use your meter data for irrigation water management. With a title like Your Meter, Your Water, Your Data, we'll see if they invite me back to talk again. But and you might be thinking, well, Ken, you're biased. You work for a company that sells flow meters. And I say, well, I am biased. But if another company makes a good meter, I'll tell you it's a good meter. But until then, I'm biased for McCrometer. There was a time when I was not a strong meter advocate 20-some years ago when I worked for the NRD. And then I implemented some cost share programs where we converted flood to center pivot, and I had to go in and figure out how much water we saved. And at the time, I wasn't requiring meters for the program. And then I found out it's not that easy to get power records, and it's not that easy to go out and get readings with a portable ultrasonic flow meter. So in the end, I just realized we need meters on this project. So that's when my attitude changed to including meters in an irrigation management program. But first, let me tell you a story. About 13 years ago, I had the opportunity to go down to New Orleans for a groundwater conference. In fact, I think there were some Upper Big Blue people there. But one of the days of this conference were dedicated to a tour around New Orleans, looking at flood control structures that the Corps of Engineers was putting in after Hurricane Katrina. And this picture that you see was one of the structures that we went to. And just to give you an idea, this structure is basically a check dam at the mouth of a levee, where the levee drained floodwater out of New Orleans. And so on your right, the right side of this picture was the levee that drained the floodwater, and on the left side was a big lake that it drained into. I can't remember the name of the lake, but the purpose of this structure was to keep storm surge from pushing floodwater from the lake back up into the city and causing floods. So it's a pretty strong, pretty important structure. And we on the tour, when we got there, I went up on this observation deck, and I looked down, and I could see water spilling out of this pipe right there. And I thought to myself, this tells you what a water geek I am. I thought to myself, how much water is spilling out of there? 300 or 400 gallons a minute? And then I looked closer, and I realized, hey, that's a McCrometer meter. I need to go down there and take a picture. So I go down off of the observation deck, and some people say, hey, Ken, do you see that meter down there? I said, yeah, I'm going to take a picture. And I get down off the observation deck, and I'm walking across the construction site, not even thinking that I shouldn't be there. And all of a sudden, the construction foreman runs over, and he says, hey, you can't be here. This is a hard hat area. You need steel-toe boots. And I stopped, and I said, hey, it's all right. I work for the company that makes these meters. I just want to take a picture. And all of a sudden, his demeanor turned 180 degrees. He said, oh, I love these meters. I can't do my job without these meters. He said, I read these twice a day. And then he said those 5 words that I'll never forget. He said, you got to know the flow. You got to know the flow. And he went on to explain to me, he said, basically building this check dam, they're working in a submerged excavation. And they're constantly running pumps to dewater the excavation just so they can do their work. And he said, he knows exactly how much water they need to pump to dewater so they can do their work, because he's reading the meters every day. And if he's not moving enough water, something's wrong with his pumps. And if something's wrong with his pumps, water comes up in the excavation, they can't do their work, they're losing time, they're losing money. So that was the first time I realized it doesn't matter whether it's a pivot of corn or beans in Nebraska, or the construction site in New Orleans, or a rice paddy in Arkansas. You got to know the flow.
What's the meter in the picture telling us?
That's flow and totalization. That's a special kind of meter that has telemetry, and I'll get to that a little bit later. So, a couple ideas that I want to get across, if you take nothing else away from this, is McCrometer does not make regulatory devices. We make water measurement and water management devices.
Say that again?
McCrometer does not make regulatory devices. I mean, every day of my job, everybody, all the farmers I work with, they look at a meter as a regulatory device, because oftentimes it's someone like the NRD telling them they have to install a meter. But we make water measurement and water management devices. And to go along with that, water conservation starts with the meter. Yeah, a lot of times it's kind of a catch-22. If you put in a practice, you want to know how much water you save. A practice like an underground pipeline, or drops, low pressure drops, or something like that. You wonder how much water you saved from putting in that practice. Well, a lot of times you don't have a meter before you put in that practice. But to know how much water you saved, you got to have a meter. So the conservation starts with the meter. So the next couple slides are just a couple of, it's a collection of some of my thoughts on how you can use the meter as a management tool on your farm for irrigation. One of the first steps is evaluating irrigation efficiency. Very easy equation, QT equals AB, which is the flow rate times the time equals the area times the depth of water applied. Very simple equation. You have to know the flow rate of the well first, and the time is the time of it could be the time of one irrigation setting, could be the running time of the whole season, or whatever window of time you want to take a look at, and that equals the area, which is either your entire field or the area of an irrigation setting, times the depth. The nice thing about this, if you know any three, you can solve for the fourth. So if you know say you know the depth of water you want to apply. Say you want to apply 1 inch. You have to know the flow rate and the acres in your field, like the acres under the pivot, and then you can solve for the time. You can change the setting time on your pivot to put on that 1 inch of water, or whatever depth of water you want to apply. But what you have to know first, you have to know the flow rate. So you got to know the flow. Whether it's for the entire pivot, or one zone on a drip system, or a flood field, you can use this same equation to evaluate your irrigation efficiency on any type of field. But in the first place, you got to know the flow. You got to have the meter. Second one, improving set times, kind of goes along with that. And this is more, probably used more for flood fields. And of course, we don't have as many flood fields anymore, but you still have some around. And you can use the same equation to figure out how much time you need to advance the water across the field for a given setting, or, for one setting, or for the entire number of settings to get across the whole field. So whether it's pivot or drip system, a flood system, you can use that to improve your set time across the field. Nozzle packages or drip system. Whether it's a pivot or it's a drip system, your nozzles, the drip package, that's all designed around the flow of an irrigation well, or the flow of the pump. Whatever, again, if you don't know what the flow of the well is, and use that in the design for the drop nozzles or the drip system, if it's not designed correctly with the flow rate, you're not going to have the uniformity across the field. The next two kind of go together, the irrigation well and pump plant performance. We have a lot of old wells around here. If they have an old metal casing, sometimes sometimes the screens can get clogged. That can affect your flow coming into the well. Or what if something is wrong with your pump? And I'm sure there are other ways you can diagnose what's wrong with your pump, like a pressure gauge and possibly some other things. But one of those indicators is going to be your meter. Because if something's wrong with the well, something's wrong with the pump, well, the first places you're going to see that is with the flow rate. So again, you got to know the flow. Water use reporting, what you're doing for the NRD. At the end of every year, you have to report your water use to the NRD, unless they're sending somebody out to read it. Now, Terry's department puts out a really good report every year and on what the water use was across the district. And you guys are doing a really good job, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches per acre. It's really good. But if you didn't have the meter, you wouldn't know that. Or if you had to report without a meter, you'd just be guessing. So again, and when you estimate, you might overestimate or underestimate. But why would you want to do that? You want accurate numbers on the water that you apply. And finally, economics. Valerie got into this a little bit on her presentation. You know this better than I do. Every time you push the button on the well, it costs you money. So why wouldn't you want to know accurate numbers on every gallon that you pump, so that you know what you're getting for your money? So, just a few of my thoughts on how you can use the meter as a management tool. I want to talk about some of these basic principles, and then go into some specific newer technologies that McCrometer has coming out for our meters and for water management. This is actually some older technology. McCrometer came out with Flow Connect about 8 years ago. I think 8 years ago this spring, where Flow Connect essentially put remote telemetry into the head of our meter, inside the register. And this is a digital register. I'm sure what a lot of you are used to are the mechanical registers on our mechanical prop meters. And I've got a picture of that here coming. But basically, Flow Connect uses a digital register, integrates cellular technology, and then you can go to a secure McCrometer server on the web and retrieve your data and use that for irrigation water management. You can get that either off the web or your phone. And you might be thinking, well, why would I need that? Why do I want to use that? One of those things, just like we just talked about, could be reporting to the NRD. But also when you have real-time data You have that data throughout the irrigation season, and you know how much you've pumped. You know, you can use that for your irrigation scheduling if you know the local crop water use. We talked about those ET gauges. I used to cost share on those when I was at the NRD 20 years ago. They're a handy device, tells you what the local ET is on your farm. If you know what you're applying in real time, you can adjust your irrigation settings to try to match the local crop water use. So just another tool that you can use. One term that I wanted to introduce to you is what we call exact read technology. It's a trade name that McCrometer adopted for our telemetry. It's something unique to our telemetry. A lot of times when you have remote reading on a meter, you'll just take pulses off of the meter. It's like every time, say 1,000 gallons goes past that meter, the meter will send a pulse into a telemetry unit. And the telemetry unit sits there and counts those pulses. And those pulses go to a website where the math is done. It takes the pulse count times 1,000 gallons, and that's how you derive flow and totalization. So with the exact read, we take the totalizer number exactly off the meter. And that's what gets sent to the website. So that what's on the website is exactly the same as on your meter. You might think, well, who cares? But when it's the amount of water that you've pumped, it's going to that website. It's exactly the amount. It's exactly the volume of water that you've pumped. There's no math involved. When there's math involved, there's rounding errors. And when telemetry is involved, sometimes you lose communications. So if you lose communications, you're not counting pulses, you're losing data. And if you're losing data, especially, and I know you're not in an allocation system with the NRD here, but other NRDs do, and that's why this is important to them, because it's reporting exactly what you pumped. Again, it's just a feature with McCrometer's telemetry. SmartTrax is our newest telemetry unit. Just came on the market about a year ago. This blue box is an external telemetry unit that would mount on the outside of the meter like this. You might be thinking, well, Ken, you just told me McCrometer had this integrated into the meter. Why are you going outside the meter now? Well, this is something that is compatible with any meter. So, let's say, I think it's like 30 or 40% of the meters installed in this district are not McCrometer meters. So as long as it's a digital meter, as a signal output, you could use something like this to read that meter. But it's also compatible with any of our McCrometer meters. And one of the nice features about this, it works with any cell tower that's out there. Now, most of what's around here is Verizon, but you don't have to go too far. It might be an AT&T tower, it might be a Viaero tower, any cell phone company. This works with any cell phone company. It reads pulse 4 to 20, and as well as exact read. So it's a pretty versatile device. Economical price point. It goes to the website where you can retrieve your data. And if you did want to look at something like this, you can see this is your mechanical prop meter that you would have, which a lot of you probably have out in the field right now. Right now you could convert that to a digital register like this, and then you could hook up remote telemetry. Or this was McCrometer's old digital register. It was shaped a lot like the canopy on the mechanical register. But this new new digital register, the new Flowcom register, that's something that came out just last fall. So it does everything that the old digital register did. The digital display, digital outputs. One advantage to the digital register is you can make it a remote mount display. So say you have the meter in a pit, a pipeline down in the pit, you can bring that digital register up outside of the pit so you can read it easier. You can also send those signals into your, say, your pivot panel. If you want to put a pivot panel, or I'm sorry, if you want to send your signal into your pivot panel so that you can monitor your meter that way, that's something that you can do with that new digital register. Or you could hook it up to that remote smart tracks unit that I was just talking about. The other new feature this digital register has is onboard data logging. Might be something you'd never use, but thinking about this the other day, getting ready for this, you could turn that data logging on, and basically what that does is it tells you what you pumped and when. So I know you probably keep records throughout the year, but this is just another, that data logger is just another digital record. Maybe you're talking to your agronomist and he says, this was a particular stressful time for the crop. Were you watering then? But you could go back to this digital register and say, yeah, I have a record right here. This is what I pumped that particular week. Or it could be another way you could use reporting to the MRD too, whichever works better in your system. Now you might be thinking, well, Ken, I got to go back to this this smart tracks unit. This is a blue box. It's about this tall. Most of what's inside this box is battery. It has three. I think there are 3 D-cell batteries. Is what takes up most of the room inside that box. The rest is a small communications card that's smaller than a credit card. You might be thinking, well, Ken, if it's that small, why don't you just put it inside the head of the meter? Well, that's the next step. This spring, we'll be able to integrate that SmartTrax card into any of our ag meters. The digital head or the new Flowcom register for the McCrometer propeller meter, or any of our ag mags. This is a MC Mag 2000, 3000, or the full bore mag, the Duramag. Any one of those new meters will be able to integrate telemetry into the converter of the mag meter or into the digital register of the new prop meter. Or if you already have one of these meters in the field, you could hook it up to that existing meter. So, anyway, just a few thoughts on telemetry for irrigation water management. It helps with conservation. When you have that real-time data, as an irrigator, you're more engaged with that data, evaluating how much water you've applied in your irrigation system and how you may make changes to help with your irrigation scheduling. Helps with your water efficiency, irrigation scheduling. Regulations, I hate to use the R word, but it helps you out with sharing that information with an agency like the NRD, managing allocations. And I know you're not in allocations, but I work with plenty of districts that are. Planning and development, again, that gets back to the NRD. Yeah, the NRD has to do basin-wide management, and getting that water use information back to them helps them plan on the district level, watershed level. And finally, operations. You guys have to manage your operations, and if you could use telemetry to make your workload more efficient, how you check your irrigation systems and whatnot, might be something that would help you out with your operations as well. Just a few ideas. Again, it's your meter, your water, your data. How are you going to use it? And like I said, conservation starts with the meter, and telemetry, remote meter reading is just another way to help improve your irrigation efficiency, if that's something you want to use. So, any questions?
Where is the data stored on this telemetry? Data collection system?
Yeah, the data is stored on a McCrometer server, and if you're a user, you're given a login password to get it. You can get it either, from your PC or over an app.
So that's housed inside of your house
Right.
or the cloud.
Right. And if it's a secure website, you're given the ability to get that data, and then you can download it. Then you can share it with someone like the district or your agronomist. And one thing I'll mention, I know in some news you may have heard about an app called Producer Connect, which a lot of other NRDs are working with. To my understanding, Upper Big Blue is not a participant in that program. But if you farm outside of Upper Big Blue NRD, you might have exposure to an app called Producer Connect, and it's a way for the NRD to share information with you, and you can also get your data on a McCrometer telemetry system through Producer Connect, and that's something that's going to come out again with other districts in the near future. But we developed the data sharing with them, and Upper Big Blue doesn't have a telemetry program now, but if they did down the road, we'd probably look at data sharing with them too, as a possibility. And I've got some information back on some of our meters, and also on repairs. If anybody has questions on that, I'll stick around for a little bit. So, thank you.